Hi, and thank you for tuning in today. I want to tell you a story about glass ceilings, bottlenecks, and the genesis of breakthrough brands. It began when I began researching Canada's newest legal plant in 2018, when cannabis legalization was just a year old. The industry was new, fast growing, evolving at an unmanageable pace. Regulations were changing, marketing departments were being challenged, consumers were being challenged at the buzz by the buzz around product in what was predominantly a no name, no product industry even. Events and communities sprouted around towns and provinces, and when cannabis retail became legal, new opportunities and challenges emerged. In the US, when certain outlets began covering cannabis as a business, that was the first indication of cultural acceptability. When cannabis was seen not just as an investment, but people began having a financial stake in it. This presentation is broadly intended for an adult audience over 19 to 21 plus, based on your specific jurisdiction. Now I want to take you through three sections. What Canadian consumers think about cannabis, followed by what industry leaders think. Then I will engage insights gained from consumer research and industry outlook to arrive at recommendations for building brands of the future. Legalization was hard won. In Canada, however, legalization was a top-down initiative, where, to quote the president of the Canadian Securities Exchange, the government thought it would be a good idea and there was little public opposition, versus in the US, where jurisdictions legalized based on people petitioning and proposals to ballot. Descheduling and the federalization of the drug will open up the market and allow US companies to list on their own stock exchanges, but also to conduct business compliantly across states. As consumer opinion mounts and peaks in favor of cannabis legalization in the US, it is the November elections that might decide what happens next. The race to IP across countries and the rise of pandemic response strategies, both in US and Canada, prove the potential and resilience in this industry as it serves its constituents and varied stakeholders. Canada hosts two fully functional legal adult use and medical cannabis markets, was the first in the G7 countries to do so. 3 years into complete legalization, while most companies are still not meeting the addressable market, the legal and illegal operators' share of wallet combined is around $8 billion annually, based on a monthly consumer spend of $107, versus the still thriving, however on the decline, illicit market share of over $6 billion. That's about 1 million kilograms of legal and illegal cannabis in the market in Canada, of which only 25% is legal. So we know the problem. Specifically, I wanted to understand, using my knowledge of consumer insights based on their usage and attitudes, and layer that with deeper qual perspectives from industry leadership to understand why some brands were being perceived as having the potential to becoming breakthrough brands, and why some formats and brands just delivered better experiences than others. I used a mixed methodology approach, drawing from Vividata's National Cannabis Consumer Survey of over 5,000 Canadians, followed by Qual 18 online video interviews with leaders, geographically diverse, but rooted in the Canadian North American perspective. Cannabis legalization in Canada has not been without its share of criticism, we know. And a major hope with legalization was the elimination of the illegal market. Legalization did not beget a surge in consumption, as was feared. Moreover, top sources of legal market cannabis included physical retailers, followed by digital retailers across the provinces. That was a breakthrough. Cannabis 2.0 in Canada marked a year of adult use legalization, when the law now allowed for new formats and highly anticipated innovations to enter the legal market. People wanted to touch, taste, smell, eat, drink, vape, apply cannabis, and a variety of new formats in the category of extracts, like topicals, edibles, drinkables, vapes, offered new ways to engage with potential as well as existing consumers. Canada, like the US, is a flower-driven market. However, potential consumers show greater interest in edibles, concentrates, topicals, beverages. The excitement about Edibles is palpable, but all we know about them are gummies, chocolate bars, and sweets. There are still unrealized opportunities in savory edibles, like cannabis infused meatloaves or cannabis infused dumplings or salads. Consumers want assurance around three aspects of edibles. They want clarity on consistency, potency, and dosage. Just under a third of all Canadians want to eat salty snacks after their cannabis consumption, followed closely by sweet cravings. What they don't particularly want is an alcohol binge after consuming cannabis. Beverages are yet to realize their potential. Do you drink weed became a famous tagline that companies were pitching as a new experience to consumers. So there are cannabis beverages that contain cannabis that are either carbonated or uncarbonated, and there are plain beverages that are brewed with just cannabis. Infused beverages onset times could range from 30 to 45 minutes, and with effects lasting for a long period of time. But there is polarized opinion around taste. Yet tremendous potential in its perceived effects, wellness benefits, and applications. In Canada, social acceptability of consuming cannabis has positively eclipsed social acceptability of tobacco consumption, with 46% perceiving it to be okay to consume cannabis. However, a big majority of Canadians, 82%, still think alcohol is acceptable. So the switch from alcohol to cannabis might take a generation or two of lots of creativity and compliant marketing, perhaps. Moreover, cannabis beverages may not quite become mainstream until they hit stores like the Costco, LCBO, dollar store. Consumers report that consuming cannabis makes them reduce their intake of pain or other medications, but also it makes them reduce their intake of alcohol and cigarettes. Yet, cannabis is yet to get its total halo in the minds of consumers. But brands that are able to tap into its benign qualities over, say, alcohol are better positioned to becoming the Coca-Cola or PepsiCo of cannabis that identified the market opportunity in bottled water quickly to gain market share. For my qualitative research, I hit up some of the most well-placed executives in cannabis mainstream and ancillary industries, delving into their pools of knowledge and resources to understand industry outlook and the future of breakthrough brands, recruiting them from having heard many of them speak or interacted with them at professional forums and in the workplace. They are cited in the works cited page at the end. I wanted to understand the quality of talent and leadership in line with their aspirations and ideals for successful brands, and delved a bit into their career stories, but also asked them to name heroes and visionaries that impacted or advanced the cannabis story. The list was far-reaching and fell into the category of educators, innovators, organizations, champions, and influencers. Social equity conversations and product innovation and educational initiatives were a big chunk of this list. Take a look. We have seen how legalization, product innovation, and retail, online and offline, have served as breakthroughs. Another salient sector, cannabis has sizable potential consumers, especially Zoomers and seniors, is in the health and wellness space, currently valued at about $4.3 billion a year. Also, the pandemic offered a huge humbling opportunity to see how this industry rose as an essential service, offering relief not just to several who needed to manage their anxiety, pain, umbrella ailments, but also jobs more than any other sector. The Business Development Bank of Canada began offering loans and emergency funding to cannabis initiatives. This was unprecedented. The rise of virtual e-learning from cannabis brands, especially hosting the first ever virtual 420 celebrations, heralded a new type of necessity in the post-legalization lexicon. Among the most acute problems for brands today, according to participants and leaders, are the fast-changing and slow-moving regulations. There are complaints about marketing restrictions and brand invisibility, but consumer Lack of awareness reported by consumers themselves remain a persisting challenge. 70% of consumers are not sure they know the difference between THC and CBD. Here is a huge opportunity for brands to step up and eliminate confusion about product, legal awareness, and the responsible use of cannabis. Legal cannabis products, for example, have an excise stamp on the package, carry the standardized cannabis symbol, and mandatory health warnings that provide information on risks. This kind of information should be communicated critically by brands. Here are some industry insider perceptions encapsulating all we have seen so far. And this is a brand breakthrough matrix, listing some of the differentiators that help set aside the best from the rest. Specialization, being good for brands, even with vertical integration, as mergers keep happening, and companies must not lose sight of their special expertise, whether it's extraction, cultivation, consumer insights, so long as they're also working with the right partners. This is what's going to drive profitability. Talent mix was another interesting aspect, where several expressed the sentiment that talent should be drawn from the gray and legacy markets as well as business professionals to ensure the right mix of knowledge and skills. Moreover, switching up the hierarchies between those on the corporate and those on the grower or cultivation side would ensure a healthy workforce balance and organizational structure to keep productivity soaring. Storytelling. No matter what technology or medium you use, your stories need to be more positively people-centered, whether it's stories about your team, your brand, your product, and ultimately the story of cannabis you want to tell to elevate cannabis to meet the aspirations of your consumer. I was excited by the potential of cannabis brands to tap into ancillary sectors and industries to get more profitable, and wanted to understand what stakeholders thought about this, and was excited by the range of answers in technology, media, and nonprofit associations as being the more untapped ancillary industries where cannabis had huge potential. I was already surprised by the existing tie-ups with shipping, transportation, and logistics. So these ancillary verticals that focused on knowledge mobilization and education really tapped into the need of the hour. A lot of cannabis users index high on their use of technology, apps, social media, mobile media. So tapping into the intersection of cannabis and technology, whether this means cannabis 3.0 and beyond, shows huge promise. It is no surprise that across all age cohorts, the vast majority of Canadians believe it is important for cannabis brands to educate on the effects and uses of their products. The top source of information for cannabis consumers, current and potential, is media websites, followed by search engines. So it makes sense to invest in trusted outlets more. And here are some views on how two media outlets are trying to stay sustainable, offering great ideas for cannabis brands to latch onto media as a profitable partnership. Ongoing discussions across nonprofits and businesses lead to more informed perspectives on the state of the industry and help to create a unified voice that advocates for every facet of the legal supply chain, creating the foundations for strong cannabis standards. My favorite part was the industry metaphors, as they revealed a mix of hope, cynicism, and awe at the unprecedented nature of cannabis. From a ship for the whole, to a road where no path has been created, to counting years in industry as you would dog years, signaling the need to become an instant authority as soon as you entered cannabis, and the steep learning curve and opportunities to shine ahead. We are navigating a no-name industry, where the top two brands in consumer recall, based on a Brightfield survey held last year of recreational brands purchased, were Tweed at 32% and Aurora 25%, followed by Not Sure 24%. So brands of the future, my friends, are built by common, intelligent researchers like us who understand the consumer vision and need for access, experience, and safety. Clear brand differentiators in an environment where top quality is a basic demand. We need to look as well to industry insiders' knowledge and foresight in collaborating transparently across sectors to deliver the best products and the best experiences with the best teams, breaking every false ceiling to soar. Thank you so much for your time today.